Is World War III already underway, according to one of the most influential hedge funders in the world? Bill Ackman, the answer, well, he says it's yes. So how do we prevent a nuclear holocaust? Or has that been Putin's plan all along? The Russian military invasion of Ukraine continues to get worse. 1.7 million refugees have now fled. Many more have stayed to fight, but the situation continues to deteriorate. The Russians have reportedly now fired roughly 700 cruise missiles into Ukraine. It's impossible to know how many civilians there have died. But I will tell you this, the Ukrainians, they are fighting back. This is video of Ukrainian artillery firing rounds at the Russian invaders. The Ukrainians claim to have killed more than 11,000 Russian soldiers. They also claim to have downed scores of planes and helicopters. We're told this is video of Ukrainians shooting down a Russian chopper over the weekend. Problem is, the Russian tanks continue to roll in. This is video of the Ruskies on the outskirts of Kyiv. And because of scenes like this, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is still begging for more help.
The world should react decisively and, most important, fast. If Western politicians are scared, we are saying, let us do it. Give us the Ukrainian war plans and fighter jets, which we can use to protect ourselves, our children. Give Ukraine anti-missiles defense to guarantee that no one will blast nuclear power plant, and Ukraine and all of Europe won't be destroyed.
So should the West be sending more military gear to Ukraine, or would that set off an actual world war the planet might not recover from? Here with me now, former U.S. Navy SEAL and co-author of the brand new book, came out last week, The Way Forward. Go get it now. Rob O'Neill, in his house. And he is the guy who shot and killed Osama bin Laden. Thank you for that forever.
Thank you for having me, Kennedy. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you. Horrible times. I'm curious what you see when you look at what Russia is doing. Are we in the middle already of World War III?
There are people that will say this is the beginning of World War III because this is how it happens. And it actually started before this when the Russians invaded Georgia, which is one of the provinces, and they annexed Crimea, and they're kind of sitting there. Then they're starting to roll up on Ukraine. I personally didn't think they were going to invade Ukraine because I like to think of myself as making rational decisions.
Yes.
And Vladimir Putin completely didn't. And I think he assumed he would roll in, let them keep the flag, put in a puppet government, and kill the president. But now that there's resistance, Putin's arrogant, and he's a narcissist, and he's psychotic, and he's probably not going to stop. So it all comes down to what we do and when. We're doing enough now, but the problem is what we're doing is we're giving them anti-tank missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, we and some other countries. But once they realize they're losing 9 planes in a day, as is reported, they're going to stop flying and just start shooting in artillery. And that's the whole thing, where those kind of go wherever they go. And shooting them in cities, it's, an explosion's always right.
Yeah, it does seem very indiscriminate. So where are they launching those cruise missiles from?
Some of the cruise missiles are probably coming from the sea. There's land-based, some from planes. But, the cruise missiles are expensive. Artillery is not. And if it comes down to a knockdown, drag-out fight and a war of attrition, which it could, the Russians plan on doing that. Because Russia's always been the type of place where here's 2 soldiers, give them 1 gun, you both run this way. When he dies, you pick it up. Don't turn this way because we'll kill you.
Yeah.
And because you got to figure with the propaganda, the Russian soldiers didn't even know. They thought they were going there because they were told that Kiev was overrun by white supremacists and Nazis. We're going to denazify.
Do you believe that? Because there was a Russian commander who was captured, and he said that, tearfully. He was like, we thought it'd been overtaken by Nazis. I mean, that's the kind of propaganda they're being fed, apparently.
Yeah, Vladimir Putin even said that to us, and it's almost kind of, you do a double take, like, wait a minute, is that real? Because Nazis are bad. No, wait a minute, that can't be real. They're the ones on the border, but they were saying, yeah, they're trying to invade us. Russia was telling their people Ukraine's trying to invade us. Yeah. So I don't think, and nowadays everyone calls everyone a Nazi if you disagree with whatever they say, left or right.
You're worse than Hitler.
Yeah, worse than Hitler. But we're finding out right now what could potentially be worse than Hitler, and that's if Vladimir Putin and Russia take Ukraine, then they start moving into the Balkans, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, things like that. Yes. You get into Poland now. Poland I love because Poland, you don't mess with Poland with anything from immigration to, they've seen the worst. They dealt with this in the 30s, and that was enough for them. Yes. And I fought with the Polish Grom, their special forces. Yeah, legit.
So tell me, what is the situation with the planes in Poland? Because Antony Blinken, our Secretary of State, said they've got the green light to go ahead and give Ukraine their planes, and then we'll just backfill them, which is threading a very complicated needle.
Especially when you consider the MiGs they want to give them are Soviet era that were given to Poland by the Soviet Union once they crumbled. So they're old school MiGs, and the pilots know how to fly them, but that's not the best. And you know, it's one thing to say if you give this guy enough weapons, he shoots at you. Eventually, you're going to get mad at the guy supplying them. And the issue is when we put a NATO aircraft up, or when Russia hits a NATO soil, it's on. And, you know, if we have a NATO pilot shoot down Russians and kill them, Vladimir Putin's not going to like it. And that's when it starts to escalate, which none of us wants, but we've already backed down and shown weakness as a country because we stopped a routine missile exercise just because, well, we don't want to make Vladimir Putin mad. He doesn't seem to care if he makes us mad. And we're learning you can't negotiate from a complete position of weakness, which we are.
They've given him the Olympics. They've given him the World Cup. You know, between Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, like they gave him entree to do exactly what he's doing. And I don't trust this president or this administration to clean up the mess of past administrations. And frankly, and I shared your rational belief that he wasn't going to go into Ukraine.
Yeah,
I really thought that he wasn't going
so
because on paper, none of the math added up for a person who wants to engage in capitalism and enrich himself, his cronies, and his country. So having said that, maybe we're wrong about the idea that he doesn't want nuclear annihilation. We're assuming that détente still holds.
Right, but the thing is, too, when you got a guy like Putin who's talking about Vladimir Lenin, Nikita Khrushchev, and Joseph Stalin, he's almost 70 years old, and he's worried about legacy. What's my legacy? And his legacy, if he could be the greatest Russian ruler that destroyed the world, I mean, he might be crazy enough to want to live with that. And that's a scary thought.
Yes, and also he might be narcissistic enough to say, well, if I'm going down, and if sanctions are the entree, I'm going to take everyone with me.
Yeah, that's a huge concern, and it gets very scary. If it gets to nuclear, which for some reason a lot of our politicians like to get on TV and say that word, it's the polar ice caps will get a lot hotter than global warming if we start nuking each other. That's a problem. We're gonna kill ourselves with climate change regulations longer before climate change, and that's the huge part of the issue too.
Yeah, and man, I wish we had. I'm gonna get into energy in the next block because yes, we are being held hostage by people who claim that our death is imminent because of global climate change, but there are people who are dying right now because of energy and our bad energy policy in this country. Can you give me some good news? Is there some good news in all of this?
I mean, some good news is we have the most oil reserves in the world.
Let's tap in.
All we got to do is get them.
Why don't we tap that?
Well, when's the last time a logical decision was made in the Beltway?
No, it's not. That's why you got to get out of the Beltway. You go to the middle of the country, you high-five people, you share a casserole, and then you come back and you tell everyone else on the coast that they're dum-dums. And that's how we do it. Rob O'Neill.
That's how we do.
Greatest living American. Thank you, dear.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.